Wells Folly in Vermilion, Ohio, where dear old Vermilion's flowing, where the weeds and thistles grew, where the rippling waters flowing, where the hobos wash their clothes. It's a lovely stream of water, and everybody knows there are no Chinese laundries where the Vermilion River flows.
This poem was introduced as a song to the public in 1937. It was written by a person named F.B. Maxfield and appeared in the 125th anniversary historical edition of the Vermilion News on the 25th of August, 1962. I seriously doubt that the comment about Chinese laundries was intended to be discriminatory. There was no mention of when the song was written, but it was well before the development of what we have come to know as the Vermilion Lagoons, the Cape Cod, on Lake Erie. I use it to take you back in time when that which existed in that area were weeds and thistles. It was mainly swampland. There was a worn path that ran from Linwood Hill to the river that folks used to get to Lewis Cloudy Knowles Ferry, that transported people up, down, and across the river to a thriving little village called Vermilion in Ohio. During an era known as the Great Depression in our nation, a man named Wells, who owned the Wells Construction Company in Cleveland, had a dream. Knowing the Depression would someday end, he wanted to keep his company going. To keep it going, he had to find work for them. Wells looked at that old swamp that ran along the Vermilion River from Linwood Hill to Lake Erie and saw opportunity. He could dredge lagoons from parts of the swamp, pile the rich soil on the sides of the lagoons, let the wet soil dry, smooth it out, and make it into a waterside housing development. An agreement transferring the marshland from the Smith Estate to the Wells Marine Construction Company of Cleveland was finalized in October of 1929. Mayor E.S. Welch was given notice of this project during the last week of that month. The initial stage of the plan was to build a road that would run from Lake Road, south of Linwood, to the lake. It called for the construction of a 250-foot lagoon and a smaller one near the lake. The road would later be known as Portage Drive. The proposed lot size was 50 by 125 feet. Construction was to begin on December 15th and continue throughout the winter, with the expectation of having part of it completed by early summer. This was a formidable task, and I suppose there were many townfolks who laughed at the idea. After all, who in their right mind would want to build a house in an old marsh? It was and remains in a floodplain. But Wells forged ahead, and he did it. The photograph shown gives you a rare look at one of the first structures, if not the first, in the Vermilion Lagoons. Then it was called the Boat Landing Clubhouse. Later, people would come to know it as the Beach House. Recently, it has been rebuilt. The view in this photograph, by the way, would be impossible to recreate today, for many homes have been built in the project since that time. Wells's Folly became one of the most popular home development projects on Lake Erie. Residents had ready access to their boats along the lagoon that fronted their homes. The view was and is spectacular from their living and dining areas. The gulls, cranes, and other odd-looking waterfowl soared over the water and roosted along their docks waiting for a stray fish. There was also a great deal of continuity among the houses. All were white. Most had green trimmings, but once in a while black crept into the trim. It truly looked and continues to look like a tiny Cape Cod village. Occasionally, bad times would visit the place. When the ice froze thick in the river and the thaws came, ice jams would form, and the water would surge through the lovely homes. Yet this was true of all the homes and cottages on the river. In later years, the Vermilion Port Authority has made an attempt to keep the ice from getting too thick from the bridge to the mouth of the channel. They break it with some regularity. The only thing that can ruin this wonderful place is a flood such as the one experienced on the 4th of July, 1969. Nothing would stop that. But I know the spirit of the people who inhabit the Vermilion Lagoons, as well as others who live in the plain. They just pick things up and start over again. Mr. Wells had a dream. It was the Vermilion Lagoons. And that dream came true. Author's note: most of the technical information for this story and video was obtained from the archived files of the Vermilion News on microfilm at the Vermilion Ritter Public Library. Researching the microfiles can be a tedious task. I thank my late brother Al for helping me with this article. It was published in Rich Tarrant's yesteryear column in the town's weekly newspaper, the Vermilion Photojournal, on the 8th of August, 2002. It can also be found on microfilm at the library. Thanks for watching.
Don't forget it, there'll come a time when you'll regret it. Oh, babe, think what you're doing. You know my love for you will drive me to ruin. After you've gone,